All right, I'd like to thank everyone. I invited all of you here today or tonight in great weather and cold weather for us at North Shield. I wanted to bring up the fact of right now with the extension of non-events all the way through the end of May. I've heard and talked to a lot of people about getting disheartened. Some of them are getting really tired of Zoom meetings because they want to do something else. And everyone's talking about, well, once it comes back, we're going to go to every single big event that we can, and we're going to do this and this and this and this. And I'm thinking, that's great, but what about, we have an opportunity now to get so many new people where their card gaming group, their board gaming group, another group that they're a part of that was really small, they disbanded. There's a lot of people looking to start a new hobby. And this is the perfect opportunity to really get those people involved. Even if it's just like setting up some Zoom meetings, getting them introduced into some basic costuming, basic cultural, historical aspects. So, well, I'm really liking French. All right, then you need to talk to this Laurel, or you need to talk to Genevieve, who she's been doing French stuff for 18 years, and she would just love to teach you some new stuff. And these types of things is where we will, as an SCA society, either continue to grow by making sure we're getting these new people in and involved and just start steamrolling, because once this gets done, people are just going to want to just flood into doing things. But if we don't get these new people, we're just going to get all the same people who are just going to go back into things, and we're going to miss out on a great time and opportunity, I think. So this is where I want to get all you guys from multiple different kingdoms, multiple different periods, multiple different times in the SCA, and multiple different positions that you've held or are currently holding, on what you think is that groups, individuals, groups, households, baronies, kingdoms can do to really get a whole bunch of new people involved. So have you guys been thinking about this, talking about this within your guys' group, or seen some of this, what I've been talking about?
Yes.
Atlantia
has a large force behind recruiting and retaining right now. It's all virtual. We have people finding us on Facebook, finding us on Twitter, finding us through various posts on YouTube, because Atlantia's sitting crowns currently do weekly addresses to the populace and then post them on YouTube. Have virtual fighter practices. We have ANS things weekly. And all of this is being posted to YouTube or posted on Facebook or Twitter or another social media. And it's being friended, or friends of friends are finding it, and then they're coming to us. In fact, last week, just before we had a Yule Court, I talked to a young lady who's just moved to the area, who was looking for information on the fighter community and what she could do now that we're in lockdown. And I sent her a page full of links that she could look at on YouTube for how to practice, how to throw shots. Mostly what we're doing is trying to keep ourselves relevant to the members that we have. And through that and the media, the social medias, drawing new people in. We haven't actually had to do a lot of active recruiting because my barony is in the Fairfax, Alexandria, Arlington, near DC area. And people just find us. We're still business as usual, newcomers, happy hours, A&S nights,
When you say
Bardic.
happy hours, sorry, when you say happy hours, what do you mean by that? Because this is what I'm talking about on what you guys are doing individually. And sorry, if I could also, whenever someone's talking, if you can give everyone a quick reference of who you are, where you're from, your position, stuff like that. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, these are the individual.
My SCA name is Baroness Maria Teresa Ponte Alto, which is a landed baroness position within Atlantia. Right now, I am having to do a lot of chatting. A lot of people right now are uncomfortable during the pandemic. And so me personally, I do a lot of chatting on the social medias. I have a wonderful A&S officer and a wonderful chatelaine. And my chatelaine hasn't had to do all that much in the way of recruiting because people are finding us on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, as I said before. And all she's having to do is bring them in and introduce them to the tools that Atlantia currently has active. We have something called Virtual Atlantia, which gives you a calendar of events for the week. My A&S officer actually posts every Monday a list of everything going on in our barony or those baronies closest to us. And so we have running virtual events every day of the week. With regards to going forward, though, I want to keep this up even after the pandemic because there are members of our barony that don't get out. We have one particular person that's in a wheelchair, and his only contact with the outside world is his social worker and social medias.
And one of the things that I've seen is that another class that I want to have is after the pandemic ends, what should we keep and what should we get rid of in certain things for the SCA? So as you were saying, you think, and I agree that we should keep on doing some aspects of Zoom to allow for a broader range, everything like that. So
I think courts, for those members that can't be in person active, but are online, are a source of information, I think we should keep activity nights Zoom wise. I mean, in person and Zoom wise. I think
a really good example, sorry, Wolfcat. I believe you guys still have Monday nights as your sewing circle on Zoom. Is that correct?
Well, we're using Blue Jeans because one of the more active members of Retinue, who is also a squire and very prominent in volunteering modernly, as well as that, has access to Blue Jeans through his work, and he is actually paying for it as a service for the barony because we had some that were not able to use Zoom when we first started the whole pandemic thing. And yes, the Monday night sewing / crafting night that is at my house is of legal age because that's how long I've been running it weekly. And it has been ongoing with that. And we've had several members that is their one activity they're still able to do and see people and communicate with someone other than their child, their family, their coworkers if they have work. And it has been a stress relief for many of them, and as well as the ones from outside of our barony and on tier that have been connecting in. Sometimes we had some people from the Wester Kaid. We had some from not North Shield, but right next to you, because
They don't
she's in Kansas City. So
yeah, Kaid.
Volunteer.
Callantyre, yes, I should know that and remember it. But they are participating as well, and we've discussed the option of having that so that the ones who are further away that still want to participate can do so. Same thing with being able to do cooking nights at that point, because
Yeah.
Culinary Guild, it's harder to do one-on-one when we can't go through, but we're thinking of how to utilize that when more than just Rafaela and I can get together and do that type of cooking again, because that's another one. There are a couple that did virtual ANS,
Yep.
but our main person has been setting up like a candy shoot network for Halloween, and he set up a Christmas lights and stocking stuffer network that made the paper even, because it had hundreds of people involved. And he's going to take that same experience, and we're going to talk up some of the demos and when we can get the events. And he's going to utilize that same experience that he's now been doing for the last 6 months to promote so that we can get new interest.
Thank you for bringing up the concept of demos, because I think I know she is going to be talking next about demos.
Who?
You have to unmute yourself. I know you're laughing.
Greatest. Yes.
You are the Shadow Lane, correct, for your group
Yes.
over in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Your big push, I know, for the last couple year and a half has been demos. Can you
Yeah.
tell us some aspects about how demos has really improved and what you're planning as soon as everything gets done, how to get more people in by kind of focusing on demos in different areas and what those different areas are?
Okay. Well, for me, I've only really been involved with my Shire for like 2 years. And I was just kind of like a casual SCA dweller before that. Like I wasn't really involved in any groups. I just kind of showed up, my then boyfriend, and watched him hit things and wishing I could hit things. um, so I'm kind of new to it in general, and somehow I'm a Shadowland now.
Oh, she became a Shadow Lane because she had a lot of great ideas. And that is the thing that I think really is important in getting new people in. And especially, like I said, now, hey, what new ideas, what type of fringe groups can we contact? What type of stuff can we plan to really get those people in?
Mhm.
Sorry, didn't mean to jump over you there.
No, you're fine. And kind of like the big idea I had that really got me very involved in my local Shire was we had a Comic-Con coming, and I was like, why aren't we there? Like, I was one of those nerds at said Comic-Con. If I had known that this existed, years ago, I would have been here my whole life. My parents would have been here their whole lives if they had known that this was a thing. So why aren't we at that place talking to people? And people are like, oh no, we don't do that.
But
And I was like,
we are at Comic-Con. We are at several of the cons up and down the East Coast. It just depends on which group,
yeah,
where it is.
yeah.
It
my
also
group was
can
like, no.
depend on the convention committee, because NorwestCon used to have demos on Sunday for the local area, and then the committee chairs became people who didn't like the SCA, so they refused to allow them to have a demo anymore. And it
Yeah.
becomes a challenge of which ones can you still get into?
Yeah.
Or do they have
Comic-Con in DC has it. Wait, that's not Comic-Con, that's something else. I can't remember what con it is.
There's so many cons.
Yes, but
They
Dragon
just
Con also has a SCA representatives on site.
Love
And-
Dragon Con. Loud.
Most cons usually do.
Our North Carolina crew brings the whole medieval thing and fights on Sunday.
Mhm.
That's when they're allowed to do the actual live fight, not the slow, this is how you do a shot kind of demonstrations, but the actual get into the armor, mark off a ring, and then beat the snot out of each other.
Yeah, we did that for 2 days at ours, but I'm kind of getting ahead of myself because the Comic-Con that came to our area here is a relatively young Comic-Con itself. They haven't been around for that long. This was like only like their second or third year doing their thing, and they call themselves the Comic and Pop Con. And so they were relatively new themselves. They had never heard of us before, and didn't know what we were. And my group was just kind of like, oh no, we don't do that. There was a lot of like, oh, that's not really the thing we do, and just kind of, oh no, we don't do that, that's not where we do. And I totally believe that other groups have been to Comic-Cons. Just mine was like, no. But then we really started talking about it, and then a bunch of them were like, yes. And then our
And
kingdom
take
heard about it.
flyers.
Yeah.
Take flyers.
Yeah. And then our kingdom heard about it, and they were like, yes, please, yes, do that. So we did it. And the Comic-Con went on for 2 days, and we did both days, and we had full little like mini tournaments with fighters who, like, I got to volunteer from our group and from our neighbor group to come and fight each other. We had a bunch of live demonstrations of ANS, and like this big interactive, like we set up like a mock camp where people could just walk through and talk to people working on different projects or doing different things, and
Nice.
get like a little like hands-on like conversation. Like one guy had a bunch of medieval board games at a table, and he had kids sitting there for hours. like their parents being like, why can't we move on? And the kids are like, I'm playing. All of that stuff, and it was awesome, and we had so much interest. I got interviewed by some vlogger for
That's a good way of getting the word out there
Yeah.
too.
Yes.
Vlogging.
yeah, it was crazy, and Eric was there, and it was epic.
I'm everywhere.
And yes, and everywhere. And we afterwards, we did kind of these series of intro classes where we had like fighting classes that were set up where people who could just, even who didn't see us at Comic-Con, just saw us online and could come and get a little practice in and get a taste for it. And we did that with archery too. And we had a lot of people, because we have a very dedicated archery marshal in my shire who's wonderful. And that was one of the first things that drew me into my shire was the archery, because I always wanted to learn to shoot. And so she
Now,
dragged.
were you doing the archery at the Comic-Con?
No, we
Oh,
weren't
good.
allowed. Yes, no. So that was not part of our demonstration at the Comic-Con. They had several
Okay.
rules for us. Yes.
Yeah.
We could not have any real weapons. So anything that was sharp or pointy, we could not have.
Yeah.
So the what we used to fight was acceptable. But not.
So your
But no cut and thrust or
demos were
rapier.
actually at your site, your SCA fighter site or whatever for the archery.
Yeah, so the intro classes took place after the Comic-Con happened.
Okay.
And so that was we had our intro to heavy fighting practices just in a local park.
Okay.
That was kind of centered to the Shire. So we would just find an empty pavilion and post online, this is where we are if you're coming. And that was me. I would show up super early and then message, post online, hey, this is where we are. This pavilion isn't reserved, come here. And we had
Sounds like a really
steady
good
people
idea.
come. Sorry?
You had 70 people come?
Oh, a steady people comes.
Oh,
70.
I was like 70.
No.
Oh my God.
No, I mean, the most we had come at once to any of the intro classes was 10.
That's still a pretty good number.
Yeah. The archery marshal we have has her own property where she does all of the practices. And
Okay.
so she scheduled a night to do her intro to archery, because she was at Comic-Con too, talking up archery. She just couldn't demonstrate it there. um, I mean, we could bring the bows and show them, but we couldn't string them, and we couldn't do any of that.
Have a tablet or something behind them showing it off, showing the videos, imagery.
Well, isn't that what
Which is really
one of the things
cool.
you said you were going to do for the next one is actually have videos playing so that they can actually
Mhm.
see like what an actual field battle is, big
Yeah.
archery competitions and stuff like that. So therefore, you're showing the
equestrian stuff.
escalation of what you can do in the S.
Yeah, I have a lot of ideas to make next time we do it, because Comic-Con was unfortunately canceled this year.
Yeah.
But next time we do it, I want to talk to the guys about, because they really liked us, because this is a young Comic-Con, right? They really liked us because we not only got more people to come, we got them to stay and spend more money.
You're also the loudest group because you had a
Yes.
herald that was out there announcing stuff. So people
Yes.
would, oh, I wonder what that is, and draw
Yeah.
over into the corner and stuff, which
Yeah.
I think is great. So no, this
Yeah.
is what I'm talking about. Every group and every kingdom. I mean, I love the fact that Atlantia actually has a weekly structured thing. So therefore, I'm not really interested on this, but Tuesday and Wednesday, I really like this, and they can always participate, or they can possibly have, I don't know if you guys have household stuff on that, where all of a sudden you can not just talk to a certain group or the kingdom, but actually different members or different groups, and then get more information. Because I know some groups might say, yeah, that we do a lot of stuff, but we don't have archery. Well, I really want to do archery. Well, then
Well, we,
one or two groups over has archery, and you can coordinate and get them in contact with them to make sure that they have someone to talk to keep their interests going.
in Atlantia, we have kind of 3 different levels. You have the kingdom and all the virtual Atlantia classes, university classes and stuff like that that are going on. You have the localized baronies, and then you have individuals who are coming up with great ideas for things that they would like to do or seeing done. And when I get requests for individuals, I find someone. I drag them to the first Zoom meeting I can post. Because if one person is interested in turn shoemaking, half the kingdom or half the known world is probably interested at some point or another in making their own turn shoes. And the great thing about Zoom meetings is once you get that person who will demonstrate it, you can record that sucker and tell them that your barony or the kingdom or the known world is posting here for this particular thing, and then spam all your friends. They may not,
Mistress Lisa is doing that.
but they will have that information. And like I said earlier, my ANS person, Monday, she has everything that's going on in our barony and the 2 next to us, and she posts a list. And this comes from kingdom, this comes from baronies, this comes from individuals. And it's sent out to everybody that is interested or has access to Ponte Alto's Facebook page. We will send it out to anyone in any kingdom if they express an interest, and you will know what is going on. And these calendar of events have links, so it's fairly easy to get to. The only thing you have to do is click on a link and show up for it.
You mentioned something that I thoroughly encourage and support, and I call it a mentorship program. And I think that this is the perfect time to really establish that. Finding someone who has similar interests, that's great, because, well, people have more than one interest. Okay, I like archery, I like fighting, I like brewing. Okay, we'll get you in contact for these 3 people to help you increase your skill. But I think whenever there's a new person that comes in, and should be done by the shadowing, is that they're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to connect you with Miranda. She is going to be your mentor, and Now that person has a direct person for a phone number, an email, where they can contact that person anytime and say, hey, I'm going to be going over to York. Can you tell me what the name of that group is? Can you give me in contact with someone that you know and trust that they can meet me at a fighter's practice and show me around? I thoroughly believe that any new person right now, because sometimes people or groups or whatever like that can be going, yeah, da 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 da, and they kind of see too much of the big picture and people fall through the holes. But if you have a group, say 4 or 5 people, and you say, all right, we have Dwayne, he's a brand new person. Dwayne, I'm going to have you get with James. James, this is Dwayne. All right, James, I want you to be his mentor. Now, whatever it is, they get in contact, they have direct communication. And they're like, hey, can you help me? I don't really understand this Zoom. Don't worry about it. I'll send you the link in the next 3 minutes. If we can establish a mentorship program for every new person that's in a group, I think we would keep over 80, maybe even 90% of all new people during this entire time. But that's
Well,
fine.
Here's the thing that I have to counter with that. It depends on how they come into the SCA. If they have friends bringing them in, they already have a mentor. It's that person that's connected with the SCA. If they're just like a cold call, you know, they've gotten a call from us saying the SCA is the best thing, come out and see us, then yeah, we should get them someone who can mentor them and show them the ropes and find that thing that, you know, brings joy to them. But I'm a Baroness. I can't always do that, but I can connect them to individuals.
Right, like I was saying, I think that should be a job for the Chatelaine, who's really responsible for kind of coordinating all this. Therefore, it's like, hey, this person's going to go to this event. James comes up and is like, yeah, this person's going to go to the event. Dwayne needs some clothes. Hold on, give me his measurements, and I'll find someone at the loaner garb, and we'll get them that. We'll get them some feast gear, and then kind of doing it that way. So, to me, it's like, I'm sorry.
But active members, not just kind of ones that kind of float.
Right.
Mhm.
And to me, it's like a volunteer thing that the Chatelaine has as a core group that either gets reevaluated or reestablished every 6 months to a year. And
Okay.
especially like, hey, we're going to be doing a demo. I need all 5 of you to be at the demo. So then therefore they can actually start like a connection of a mentorship program right away. Instead of like, okay, put your phone number and email addresses on this sheet, or here's my business card, call me. It's like one of those things where it's like one person trying to take care of 20, 30, 50 people. There's a lot that's going to fall through. But
Yeah.
like I said, to me, this is one thing that I think would really help. But this is why I said I want a whole bunch of people with a whole bunch of different opinions. Guinevere, so tell me, what does your group do if your group does certain things like this? What are they planning on doing now, and how are they going to establish it after the pandemic's done?
Yeah, honestly, I have no idea.
I just want honest answers. That's fine. There's a lot of groups that don't have ideas. Some of them are big, some of them are small, but
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons
this
I
would be
wanted
a
to be
thing too. You can talk to your group now and say, we need to really work on this.
And I've talked individually with some of our other officers, and honestly, our concern right now is we're afraid we're losing most of our Shire. We're afraid they're not going to come back. We can't reach them. They're not participating in things that are going on now. We do weekly Zoom.
Do you know any of them personally?
Oh yeah, all of them. And we've been trying to reach out, and some of them just don't respond. And I think with everything going on, that people have just kind of checked out. And I think we'll have a core group that still comes back, but I'm afraid we're going to lose a lot of people when we do get back together.
And this is
So
what I
that's
was
kind of
saying,
our-
that's what I'm afraid of, is that even some of the core groups, they're going to just come back and not be there. But now, if you have the opportunity to say, you know what, we're going to lose some pretty core group or a good number, we need to start recruiting to fill those numbers. And then once you do that, people are like, you know, I'm just jumping, wait a minute, that ship's not too bad. I think I'm gonna go back onto the ship and gonna re-energize.
Mhm.
Guinevere, what type of background do these people have that you think you're going to lose? Are they fighters? Are they ANS? Are they Laurel kind of?
Mostly fighters and some ANS. But yeah, we don't have any laurels here, so we.
Have you seen the 100-day challenge or the coach's corner?
I haven't seen Coach Corner, but I've seen
Okay.
that challenge.
Okay, let me post to the chat edge of this a whole list of fighter-esque YouTube videos and resources. Post those, see if you get any interest in those from the fighters. And let's see, known world fighters, coaches corner, pellet challenge. Okay, I'm just gonna send a whole bunch of stuff.
Those are all really good. And then I know in Ontario, we've also had our virtual Athenaeum and a couple of virtual other ANS challenges or competitions that were being used for that, just to help try and keep people interested. We're working on the next Athenaeum right now, as well as the salons at our virtual 12th night.
There are also I'm sorry, my Barony is very active and I'm trying to remember if any of the ANS nights were not Barony based.
We should all have such troubles. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Do your universities tape their classes? You do virtual?
We did some with the Collegium that just happened.
Okay.
Some were taped. We hadn't taped a lot of them at the prior Collegiums, as this was the 4th or 5th year going on. But again, DISA has been really pushing hard on getting a lot of all of Ontario and then some non-Ontario people to do a class, record it, and then pop it on the YouTube. And then she's constantly promoting it. She has her early Scandinavia ones, her significant other woodworking, and then they were doing all of these other pieces off and on.
So
And-
Atlantia has this event called Revenge of the Stitch. We're not allowed to call the virtual challenge that, but Revenge of the Stitch is a weekend event. It goes Friday evening, 5 o'clock to Saturday evening, 5 o'clock, I believe. Or maybe it's Sunday evening, 5 o'clock. But it's build clothes. It's sew something. But it's a weekend challenge we have shifted virtually for the ANS sewer creator community. It's usually a fiber art, but we have drifted away from fiber art in certain ways. But one of our members does this once a month, 1 week in a month. They do an ANS challenge. And that can bring a lot of people in. Now, Atlantia itself has the universities that they're posting to YouTube, classes.
MOAS.
Yes.
I am very familiar with MOAS and have bookmarked many of them over the years.
Yes. And I have found that all of that has helped me survive during this isolation where I had nothing to do. Because I'm in fighter at heart.
Interesting.
Now, since you're saying that you guys have like a monthly challenge, which I think is great, how could you do that for like brand new newcomers? Do like a monthly challenge for brand new newcomers? Can you think of somehow
Well,
for that? I don't want to try and do like a big thing, but like I said, just focus on the new people that are trying to get in and get ready. Because at that point, we can do like a basic tea tunic basic tea tunic for newcomers challenge, and then they'll have something ready for their first event when they can go outside. That's
now,
what
also for newcomers, Atlantia does, well, the Chatelaines do virtual courts.
like a
So
fake virtual court or a real virtual court.
a real virtual court, and then off to the side where you have the chat bars, the Chatelaines are explaining what's going on in court and why people get things or what their names are or what their honorific and how people act in court. Now, before the pandemic,
I think that's
the
a great class to have.
to do how to interpret court classes before court. And then they would sit with the new people during court and kind of whisper commentary to them on why a laurel was a big thing, or a pelican was a big thing, or a chivalry was a big thing, and explain all the honorifics that people were getting. And that's part of what they do now for the virtual court, only now they'll either have watch parties. So you go to the court after it's been taped and put on YouTube, and then everybody gets on Zoom and chat. It's kind of MST 2000, 3000 style.
And every time a certain word is said, everyone takes a drink of mead. That'd be great.
Right. We were also doing newcomer academies. So we were doing classes once a month at our social, which we do on first Thursday, because there's a very high Norse contingent here in Ontario. So it was Thursday, not Thursday. And we were doing that, and our Chatelaine had started when it was permissible by the people who were teaching that time to record so that people who could not attend because of work or something else could see it afterwards. And we would discuss court. We would talk about, here's what to expect at an indoor feast, what you should be prepared for. These are the reasons when people talk about a favor or why we do the different things. How do you recognize the pointy hats so that you know how to address them, or some of the customs, because of course, like sergeantry, which is an Ontario only thing.
I love the fact that you said a newcomers academy. I think something like that would be great. Instead of actually it being taught by a laurel or a pelican, but by a protege or an apprentice or a squire. So it's not like, all right, I'm going to be teaching a graduate level class to people from 12th grade in high school. You're kind of getting the people that are in the mid-range more involved to get
We had it kind of like a board. So there's usually 3 to 5 people discussing it. So you got a panel of experiences on that, because not everybody sees or views things the same way. And same thing with talking about the different interests, so that they could discuss that and have an idea of, okay, no, really, don't tie yourself to a household or to a specific person when you first start. Give yourself a while. There's a reason a year and a day is a good idea, so that you know what they're like throughout the year. Can you really handle them on teardown Sunday morning?
Totally agree with you. Totally agree with you on that. Oh,
We kind of had
we haven't had Dawson
newcomers.
talk yet. So since
Sorry,
sorry,
Dawson.
since he was the ex-kingdom seneschal for North Shield, I'd like to see what a large viewpoint, second level of power from the society seneschal can kind of, what they see, especially what he has seen and what he thinks could make some really good changes to get it back going again.
Yeah, and actually, I've been writing down notes here from what Mary and Wolfcat have said. Um, one of the things about being Kingdom Seneschals, I saw everyone's reports every quarter. And universally, recruitment and retention were the issues. So in some ways, this is nothing new. It's just more like everything else in the pandemic, more difficult. I think for some people, I think the pandemic and the use of Zoom has definitely been a plus. They're connecting with people. And I think you're right. I forget who said it, one of the Baronesses, that I think after the pandemic is over, we're going to keep doing some of these things. The virtual courts, or at least putting them on tape so people can see what happened. I think, right now, my group right now, I'm actually back to being seneschal for my group. And we are at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 people that are really our core group. We only have 10. I mean, I live in a town of 13,000 in the middle of the prairie. But I think what
To
we
North
have to
Shield.
do, the next town of 13,000 is 3 hours away. So I think what we have to do, and like I said, this has really made me think, is we have to really work on reaching out, even if it's just an email, to the people in our group. Guinevere, what you said. I think for the core group, they're going to stick around. I think for those who were already pretty much on the fringe, I could see it. So with some of them, it's going to be like, yeah, I'm done with that. With others, it's going to be like, oh my God, I really realize how much I missed this, and I want to jump back in. Yeah, like I said, at a certain level, none of these are new. And I think maybe one of the things we have to do coming out of this pandemic is really think about the things that we could do, that the Zoom meetings, like I'm going to take your links here to the fighter practices and some of those things, and make sure we're pushing them on our Shire Facebook group, having members redistribute them to get that excitement going, even after all this is done. Because like my little town has one big, fair kind of thing, festival, for one weekend a year. But if we had videos like this all the time, it would be like doing demos every weekend without having to get sweaty and eat, fried dough and ice and snow cones. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Is for myself, I know it's been really difficult. I'm chomping at the bit to get back in. At the same time, the Zoom things don't do a lot for me. So,
Is
I
your
don't
main
participate a lot
focus,
that way. I'm sorry, what was that?
is your main focus fighting, or is it the Laurel interactions?
I'm a moneyer, so I can do some stuff on my own. But reality is, the SCA is my social life. That's where really
Okay.
all my friends are. And so one-on-one, I call friends up, we talk, but doing things on a Zoom basis, and maybe it's just because we've tried a few Zoom ANS things in our Shire.
Yeah.
And I think part of the problem is we need to work on our camera skills a whole lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when someone's hands are like, oh, look at this wonderful leather thing I made. What leather thing? This leather thing. Oh yeah, here it is.
Okay, one of the ladies that, in fact, my ANS person, she is our Zoom guru. What she says you need is 2 cameras, one pointed at your hands and one pointed at your face. So if you are teaching someone rather than explaining, you can point the camera at your hands and have that the focus of the Zoom. Or if you are lecturing, like you're telling someone about 15th century Italian art, then you can have it focused on your face or over your shoulder at the art itself. We've gotten to the point that we've got clamps on tables that hold a iPhone in place so that you can see the hands of the person either working dough or needles or whatever else is being demonstrated.
And when I mentioned A&S nights, we've been just trying to do A&S times where we're all just individually working on things, but we're just having a chance to get together via Zoom. And, you know, it is nice to see people. And sometimes we're just sitting around, not really doing anything except maybe, you know, sipping a favorite beverage. But the fact you can see and hear and talk to your friends.
Yeah.
Has been
We've been doing the same thing here. We've been having the same type of thing every week. And one of the really kind of cool things about it is our most active people aren't even from our shire. We have someone, and I can't remember the SCA name, but she's from Alaska, and she signs in every single week with us. And we have somebody from Alberon that signs in with us every single week. And, you know, so we actually have people from outside of our small little group signing into our Zoom meetings, which is kind of neat because we've gotten to know a lot more people that way, you know, and so that when we do get back together for a real event, we'll be like, hey, I know you.
You know, there's a real power of reinforcement in that, because when you're there, I'm not really familiar with Las Cruces, but I don't think it's near a lot of other places. But, you know, they think about the fact, hey, there's someone from Alaska doing this, or someone from Seattle, from New York. I think it helps reinforce the idea that this is a fun thing that lots of people do.
It also helps that if, say, someone was from another group and they moved for a job, it still allows them to stay social with their friends and still be a part of a bigger community at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's, to me, it's exactly as you said. It's not just doing a Zoom class. And thank you for saying that specifically. It is a Zoom class that is part of a social community. So when you're doing something, you're doing this and you're engaging and you're remembering person. It's like, man, when I am in North Carolina, I am going to find you. We're going to do some karaoke. And it builds. And when, as you said, we had like 2 cameras. Wow, that's very professional, and it adds more to things. And that's, to me, is one of the things that we really need to look at what's working, what's not. And if it's not working, what can we do to kind of fix it to make it work? And
see, this is the perfect time to do it because no one expects us to be professional. They expect everything to, you know, F up. They expect grainy imaging, but you're making the attempt and you're getting feedback, and therefore you can fix it. That way, when we get out of this pandemic and everybody expects, you know, you to have the latest and greatest and whatever, you've been through the fire. You're ready for the virtual courts, and to have someone pan across the peoples or zoom in or whatever else. You're right now, the more Zoom time you can get and the more things that you can fiddle with your friends, the better it will be in the future. Because you can go into Zoom right now and draw up a background that is from your pictures or a standard one that they have of a Starbucks cafe or something like that. And that can be your background. You don't have to go out and, like my people wanted us to do, get a whole castle background. It'll look cool.
And then everyone.
If I was on my other computer, I would show you the virtual background. Unfortunately, this computer won't do it, but I normally have a castle background behind me.
See, they wanted to do that and pay $500 for a background.
Yeah, just pull a clip art. It works great.
Yeah, and it costs nothing.
I will say, you know, going back to what Dawson was saying about the Zoom not working for him, is I know for myself personally, my mundane job, I am on Zoom all day.
Yeah.
And by the time the evening comes around and I start thinking about SCA, I'm like, oh God, no. I just can't do it.
Fatigue and eye strain are a thing. One of our primary pelicans has that. She normally would be flying back and forth between Seattle and Alaska for her job a lot. And she was therefore very active in Owertha as well as in her home barony of Madrona, even though she's also one of my my Clancarn household.
Yeah.
She is right now for the last 9 months been struggling because she's had to move everything to Zoom. So she's doing that 9-10 hours a day. And then they want you, and she's like, I can't.
Okay, so here's a part of it.
Virtual funeral, and that was about it.
Here's a little bit of part of how to get around that. There are other people that can do it. You can designate one of your deputies to do it. You just
Yeah.
need a briefing on what happened. And that is the biggest thing I've learned as a baroness. Designate.
Well, she's a kingdom event coordinator, among other things.
Oh,
So-
that poor baby. Oh, that poor baby.
Yeah, it's been a rough year for her.
I completely understand. When before the pandemic, I traveled every weekend. I made practices once, twice a week, and I maybe did a newcomers, you know? I could tag team with my Baron. I am on Zoom every freaking day. I'm on Facebook every freaking day. There is always someone or something that needs to talk to me or get approval or update, or that Kingdom needs to give us more information on this fun time we're in. I have never worked so hard online as I have in the past 8 months. And so that you understand, I'm a desktop publisher. Mundanely, I'm on a computer 8 to 36 hours a day, depending on the project. So when I say this is the most I've been online, I truly mean it.
Yeah.
We have a lot of great officers in my barony, around me, in my kingdom. But Lordy Lord, they have so many things they want to do. And I've just got to, sit there and listen or hang on for the ride.
All right, it's been almost an hour, so I'm just going to wrap this up for now. First, I want to thank all of you for showing up and giving honest viewpoints of what you see, what you're doing, what are some good ideas and stuff.
I like your ideas, Freitas.
Yes.
I like your ideas. I've been taking note this whole time. I copied and pasted that whole list of videos. Oh my gosh, thank you.
I'm sure you can find some others.
So
I really like DAGs.
I'm just going to add one more thing, and then I want for each one of you to say one thing that you think would be a great thing to help brand new people during this time and right after this time to kind of get ingrained into the SCA. So the first thing I want to say is I've had a lot of comments about fighting right now pertaining to how hard it is to fight because, well, so we were going to not fight for about 3-4 months. That's okay. Well, then the first extension came in and, well, it's going to be a struggle. But as soon as that January, end of January comes in, I'm going to go to every single Gulf Wars. I'm going to go to Australia. I'm going to do the extension again. Oh my God, I haven't fought in 9 months. I am so out of shape. I don't know what to go to the gym. Oh my God, go to the gym. If you got a gym that's open, go to the gym or put some weight and some sticks and just start doing little things like that.
I got one better. I got one better. The Centurion Challenge. It's 100 days of Pell time. And if you miss a day, you have to start over. I started over 4 times. Today I'm on day 90, and I swear to God, in the next 10 days, if I miss a day, I'm gonna hurt someone.
please, if you got that, can you email it to me and I will add it to this video when I put it in.
It's on the links that I sent out on the chat. Is the
Alrighty.
first ones.
They have 100 Days of Service Facebook group too that does the service version.
They
And
should
You got
do
that?
an
Get
ANS one
been able
too.
to do that. I keep dropping it, and it's like, because I'll forget to go there and post.
Well, if you're still doing it, it still counts. Because I missed posting one day because I had the virtual court. And I did my 100-day Pell Challenge in the morning, but I forgot to post it. But I posted it the next day and it still counts because I did it for the day.
But I keep forgetting for like 3 or 4 days in a row. At that point, it's like, yep, nope.
You gotta start over.
I'm doing the things I had to do here, but
But from the fighter's point of view, from the artist's point of view, and for the service point of view, it keeps you engaged and it keeps you thinking about it at least once a day. And that's the main goal that you want to do for your groups, is to keep the individual members thinking about something about the SCA. Even if you spam the group and say, hey, what do you think we're doing wrong right now? What can we change? Let's talk about that.
Or even if you just find one thing out of all the different challenges or whatever, and you say, all right, group, this month we're going to focus on this social or this service activity or this project, and kind of do a focal thing to keep the group engaged and not time for me to just abandon ship again because there's nothing going on. Nope, we're going to take one thing and we're going to drive it home. I like that. That's a good thing. What about you, Dawson? Can you think of something that would be great for brand new newcomers right now to kind of get engaged and be established to the point that their first event is going to be stellar, no matter what?
I think one thing is getting them, whether it's a T-Tunic Zoom seminar or a Pell course, like, I'd asked you about, Baron. But I think the other thing is for newcomers, I think telling a lot of your war stories with the focus on how you met the person that is your soulmate, if you will. Because I think that will give them hope that they have found their people, their group, their fellow nerds.
To me, that's like the top 2 or 3 things that should be done. Like the war story, make it like a bardic competition of a real war story. Yes, totally agree with you. That is no shit. There I was, Sir Harold and Ingvar. We were on the hill, running down against 500 people. Of course, I was the only one that survived, but it was glorious. Yes, those things are great.
our ANS officer had been doing something, and she, because of real life, she's had to stop for that for a bit, but she was alternating a week of BAO, did you know, because Barony of Blathanor, and she would do something about Ontir or SCA customs or something about that. Maybe it was explaining the most recent BOD proclamation and what it meant. And then the next week she would do BAO half talent, and she would talk about somebody locally and spotlight them with history, with photos, talk them up, give information if they had awards, link it so people could know this was their heraldry, this is what they had. And at the bottom, remind here is where you can recommend them for baronial or kingdom awards. You should check this out. Is there someone you know? Give us an idea so that people who are new could see and put a face with the name, because, well, when we're looking on Facebook and social media, we don't always have the profile photo of our actual faces. So it's really hard to click the name and the person or person name.
Do you guys do wiki
Thank you.
pages?
And we've talked about having people work on setting it up. It's like mine hasn't been updated since one of our sergeantry candidates was doing that and helping, because I keep getting locked out. So mine doesn't show me even apprenticed to Charles de Bourbon, much less elevated as a Laurel or Baroness. And our household had had one, and that one is worse. But it goes through, and that's something that has been talked about. Let's have a day of doing that. But again, it's harder to do that one necessarily without people being able to interact directly. And the photo release forms.
Yeah.
Guinevere, what do you think would be a good basic class or project to get new people in that they want to do? I mean, I don't know if you've actually had some new people come in and say, hey, this is like really cool. Can you teach us this? Has there been anything that's been brought up as a main interest?
Some of it was what to expect. This is what you should consider. If you're going to come camp for the weekend and you don't have a friend, these are the things you should have or borrow. These are the people that you can borrow some things from. So if, because a lot of our events don't necessarily have food vendors. So you need to make sure that you have food.
Gear or feast gear to put the food on is sometimes like.
And a lot of times our newcomers, when will ask in court, is like, is there anyone for whom this is their first event?
Yeah.
And one queen started the caps and coifs, where it was a head piece of head covering and a goblet. And we're actually doing a bead from one of our laurels, who was a former baroness, but also a set of their own feast gear.
I'm trying
so
to
they have a plate, a table setting, and a cup, so they have something to eat with. They can come join whoever they've got it right with them. And it has something that's got our badge or baronial colors with it, so that they know where it came from, and it has something as a reminder.
That's cool.
That's kind of cool.
Okay, Freitas, what besides demos, what else would be a really good basic fun thing that you might have gotten emails about or anything like that?
Well, I just came up with an idea during this whole thing. I heard someone mention, I think it was Mary, happy hour. I was thinking of, because right now we don't have a lot going on besides archery, just having like a happy hour kind of Zoom meeting scheduled once or twice a month that's kind of open to everybody, where I could have a handful of members who specialize in different things like ANS or fighting, or even the archery person if someone's still afraid to go out and be social, and just say, hey, anybody, if you're interested in talking to us, or if you're just a member of the Shire and you want to catch up, come on, log in, and just, have like a big group chat. And because a lot of us haven't like seen each other, and we don't really talk outside of our business meetings, which are once a month. And I just think it would be a good thing for our own morale and to encourage other people to kind of join in the conversation. And
it surprises me that people don't talk to each other outside of Zoom meetings and stuff. You think that they'd be starting to make small little clicky groups or whatever, because everyone always loves clicky groups. But
I know, right?
one of the things that I would like to do is we used to have a thing called Moots. And what it is essentially once a month, we'd all just to get together as a group from our Shire. And we would just have a potluck. People just bring them food and have a potluck. And that's kind of like when we would talk about the great no shit there I was stories, and get the new people like, wow, really?
Ours were called Ponte Alto picnics.
Nice.
We did a quarterly potluck feast when we were able to get back together. And that's the first thing we're going to do when we do get back together. But we always made them kind of a newcomers type class as well. We would either
just
talk about, well, this is what happens at a feast. And so it's a really simple, laid back way of getting introduced to the etiquette of being at a feast, even though it's just a potluck, and or we'll talk about the different officers, or we'll talk about personas, or just, we'll try and come up with something. During the holidays, we talk about, well, what are your holiday traditions for your persona? Or
so they have to do some research to kind of brief everyone else and give like a little speech. That's kind of cool. See, what I was thinking on that is, if there's no reason that we can't do a Zoom feast. Everyone just goes, makes a little feast by themselves, and they bring out their feast gear. They sit down at a table, they get in a Zoom meeting, and everyone's
that.
doing that. And then all of a sudden, when we can actually get together, we now do it together because we've already established it as a process. Yes.
We did that.
Greatest first, then me.
I did that too.
Yep.
Yeah, we did that.
We actually had it where they were, we shared the recipes so people could make it on their own and we could eat together and all have the same meal.
Yep.
We didn't do
With
that.
whatever reactions.
We did
We
a
did that.
cooking night where we were making savory toasted cheese, and I'm not a cook, so I was the whiny one online going, "Is this the right cheese?"
But Cos Pobe is a perfectly period Welsh food, which means you can have open-faced toasted grilled cheese sandwiches on site, and it's period.
I love
All right.
savory.
My primary persona is Welsh. My secondary is Finnish.
All right, I want to thank everyone again for showing up, and I will keep on inviting you guys to these things because I think these things are so good because everyone gets to see how they do it, their household does it, their kingdom does it, and give great, wonderful ideas at other people. And I'm so happy that everyone's like, "Oh, I've been writing all this down." That's great. Hopefully when I put this online, a lot of people will also make comments. Actually, Guinevere said that she was, when I put it out there, "Hey, I'm going to be doing this. If anyone wants to be part of this, please let me know." I do. All right, you're going to be invited. That's great because more people, more ideas, more visions.
And I
So-
appreciate this because this was really kind of helped me with my motivation. It's been really hard to kind of keep
Oh, I know.
my own motivation up and keep going myself, especially when I see our Shire kind of getting smaller and smaller and smaller and worried about what it's going to be. So hearing that other people are going through all this and what you all are doing has been really helpful for me as well.
Well, you said you are doing some of the virtual things. If you want to pay, I will try and show up to some of them virtually as well.
That would be wonderful. We would love to have you.
So if you poke a reminder, I will do my best to show up, as long as it doesn't conflict with one of mine. The problem I have with Glamere and Cowledport, because I love my apprentice sister now, fellow Laurel, and because we were literally put on vigil at the same time in a sneak vigil thing, but she has something going on, and it's like, but Disa, you know I had Monday night sewing. I can't go to your Glamere and Cowledport social because I'm docking elsewhere.
I believe I also
Yeah.
put everyone on one massive email list here, so you guys should be able to just go on there and click on
Got it?
and friend everyone
Okay.
that they want.
Yay!
So
Thank you.
And money
one-
ears.
One
Cool.
last thing, if you have anyone in your group that wants to be part of this, please add them to that list and say, yeah, this person really wants to be part of the next discussion. This person has some great ideas. Please do that. I want this to continue to grow and expand and come up with great things and say, all right, like the next one, like I said, I want to do is what should we keep and what should we get rid of? And I totally agree that we should videotape pretty much every court and put it online. Therefore, anyone who hasn't been at court can now look at it, or they can see their friends that they weren't able to go to. So things like that. Also, if you have any ideas of what you think should be brought up as a concern, hey, you know, we have seen this in this kingdom. Can we discuss this and see if it's happening in other kingdoms? Or if it has, what did you guys do to help fix it? Or, you know, make it so that it's not an issue anymore. We got a cat and we got a dog. All right, we need, who's got a goldfish?
I got a snake upstairs. Of course, my cats and my kid are upstairs.
There's a snake?
Yes, I have a almost 26-year-old albino corn snake, as well as the 2 senior cats. And hopefully
Sorry.
by March, I'll have a new puppy.
Person.
Okay, we're just gonna have a live Zoom feed and all it's gonna be is pictures of everyone's animals. for a four.
It's ready to-
Aw.
All right,
Right.
does anyone have anything else that they want to add before we end this?
Nope.
I'm good.
Use an excuse to actually get in clothing because I'm going to take it off and go back to painting the renovation stuff.
I was actually thought that you were going, is that the new outfit that you just completed?
Yeah, this is the one I was working on when you were up. So
Beautiful.
the hard part is the fun bits on the hem.
Oh, wow.
So that's Sartor silk that I purchased from someone and then cut into the roundels and couched the gold around it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I buy that stuff because I can't make it.
We
All
can
right.
talk. You know I've got the information.
Oh,
Okay, he was talking about specific and I went to
Shelby book of cooking books.
give me an excuse. I might have the fabric.
There you go. All right. We will talk later. So, all right. Again, thank you all very much for showing up, participating. This is wonderful. And I'm glad that all of you had time during this crazy between holiday schedule to do this. So stay in touch and we'll keep on having some great ideas.
Yeah.
All right. Yay.
Nice to meet you all.
Bye-bye. Nice to have met you all.
Yeah.
And everybody have
You all as
a
well.
good New Year's weekend.
It's so nice to meet you all.